Victorian times, race special trains from around the country brought racegoers to Newmarket. The meets are as popular as ever, but nowadays fewer people come by rail. Bye-bye. Oh. Well, I was expecting something rather grand at Newmarket because I know the station plays quite an important part in the town's history, but it's just a little halt. When the first trains arrived in Newmarket, it was a town for the gentry, and the races were the preserve of the rich. My guide says, most of the houses are modern and well built, and have been erected as residences for the nobility and private gentlemen who attend the races. Newmarket's preeminent position in racing originated with a group of London gentlemen whose passion for horses led them to form the Jockey Club. I'm looking to historian Sandra Easom to tell me more. Sandra.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, very
nice
good
to meet you.
Now, I understand that you can't really comprehend Newmarket unless you know about the Jockey Club. What's the Jockey Club?
Well, racing started with royalty here. Then in 1752, a group of young bucks from London were interested in the racing on the heath. They thought it would provide good sport. And so the Jockey Club moved up from London to have its headquarters here, and they've been here ever since.
The Jockey Club appreciated the commercial and sporting potential of racing at Newmarket and devised the first official rules. Soon these were adopted by courses across the country. But when the railways reached Newmarket, bringing a new type of racegoer, the elitist Jockey Club was less than thrilled.
They were very much against the idea of the lower orders coming here for racing. They saw it as a gentleman's sport and a gentleman's preserve, and they didn't want the hoi polloi being able to come along and spoil their day's racing. Basically, they made sure that racing was held at times that wasn't convenient to the masses. They made sure that the railway journeys were quite expensive. Most of the trains that came here came at times that were convenient to them rather than to the working man.
Eventually, the Jockey Club realised that it was missing out on a money spinner, and so ceased its obstructionism and began to work with the railways.
The Jockey Club actually thought, well, they might give this a go, and they negotiated for cheap day excursions from Liverpool Street in London, and a princely sum of 6 shillings and sixpence, which was still, quite pricey for your average working man. But so the trade opened up, and it proved very popular indeed.
Newmarket became so popular that extra stations had to be built. Now, evidently, we are meeting at a former railway station.
Yes, indeed.
I was rather disappointed to come into a tiny little station.
I know, it's very disappointing these days, isn't it? You come in and it's just a little halt. It's just a remnant of its former glory. It was built in 1902 and it was one of 3 stations, which shows you how important the railway was to Newmarket.
So in great contrast to today, Newmarket used to be a bit of a railway hub.
Oh, indeed, yes. I mean, very popular for excursions from all over the country, not just the south, and London, of course, was the main place they came from, but from the north, all the horses came into the old station, the 1848 station.
The railways revolutionised racing. For the first time, horses caught the train to race meetings instead of walking, and so arrived in better condition to compete. On a good day, 75 special railway horse boxes and 6,000 people passed through Newmarket stations en route to the course.
The railway had a tremendous effect on Newmarket's prosperity because the population actually doubled in the 40 years from the time that the railway started. The number of trainers, who of course were the primary employers, doubled, and the town prospered.
It's a sign of a very smart town, isn't it? Have one station for people from the north, one for people from the south, and another one for the horses.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, it was the ultimate technology in Victorian times. It was a new technology, and every town worth its salt wanted a railway.
Or several.
Oh, yes.
First thing in the morning, I'll be up to see the horses train. So I plan to stay in Newmarket and go to bed early. Thinking about where to stay the night, my Bradshaw's guide mentions 2 hotels, and this is one of them. This has been one of the most popular stopovers in Newmarket since the races began. Hello, Michael Portillo checking in.
Checking in. If I could just ask for a signature there, sir.
Thank you. I love your courtyard. It has a very historic feeling to it.
Yes, yeah, originally the hotel was a coaching inn, so lots of horse and carriages used to come through. It was built in the 17th century.
I thought it had the feel of horses about it.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I've got a very early morning, so I'm going to hit the hay.
Okay, have a good night, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
The next morning, I'm out long before breakfast to witness a centuries-old routine. The horses begin their day by stretching their legs on the Newmarket gallops. It's a beautiful morning, just before 7 o'clock. This is the Newmarket Heath. These are the famous gallops. I'm meeting one of Newmarket's most experienced trainers, Sir Mark Prescott. He's been responsible for over 1,500 winners and is out on the Heath every day.
Portillo, how are you?
Very nice to see you. So this heath we're standing on, for how long has it seen this sort of activity?
The grass you're standing on here was sown in 1660 and it's not been ploughed, fertilised, watered since, so it's exactly the same grass that they were on then. What makes Newmarket famous isn't really the racecourse. There's 57 other towns with a racecourse, but the heath here, the training facilities, that's what brought, in the end now, 2,500 horses, 82 trainers, and during the covering season when the stallions and the mares are being bred, there's 10,000 horses in a 10 square mile area.
The well-drained chalky terrain makes the heath ideal for training horses. Mark works with around 50 animals at a time. It can take anything from 6 months to 2 years to prepare a young horse to race. What about your relationship with the horses?
Well, that's the most important really. I suppose the trainer equates really to the headmaster. The horses equate to the children, the owners are the parents, and the racecourse is the exam. My job is to get as many of the pupils through their exams at the best level that I can.
Heath House, where Mark keeps his horses, has stood here for hundreds of years. But he draws my attention to a relatively recent Victorian relic.
What do you think that is?
I think it's a bit of old horse.
It's a bit of very famous old horse called St Simon, and he is, according to the Millennium Poll, the greatest racehorse in history. He was owned by the Duke of Portland, and he sired a classic winner every crop he had, and he stood at 500 guineas. 500 guineas in those days, $500,000 in our money, and the next most expensive horse in the world covered at 75 guineas. He earned £296,000 at stud, 296 million in our terms.
Are we meant to kneel down before them?
I think we should really.
In Bradshaw's time, there was less technology involved in training horses. Now a top stable must invest in 5-star luxury. A beautiful blue pool for your horses.
Blue pool, yes. Well, by lunchtime it looks like the River Thames.
And they're actually going to swim, they're not just going to walk through there.
No, they're going to swim. It's 10 foot 6 deep. And the idea is to cool them off, stretch them again, and so rather like you, if you went and sat down in the office sweating, you stiffen up, whereas if you'd had a swim and put your dressing gown on, you stay a lot looser.
They look absolutely magnificent, don't they, as they emerge with the water streaming off them, refreshed.
Yeah. And hopefully contented and hopefully feeling like eating a major breakfast.
Funny you should mention that. I do too. Hello, John.
Hello, Michael. Nice to see you.
Very good to see you. I've come to meet Dr. John Little, President of Cambridge University Football Club. Now, this is Parker's piece, which I remember.
Parker's piece, yes.
I believe it's very important in the history of football.
It's extremely important in the history of football. What in fact this was the site where the undergraduates would congregate to play their many varied forms of football that existed at the time. Some could handle the ball, some couldn't, some could go offside, some couldn't. And so when they came to Cambridge, they all continued to play to their own rules. This was obviously rather difficult, and when they set up on Parker's piece, each school would pin its own rules into one of the trees that surrounded the pitch, and so if you were a passing undergraduate and wished to join in, you knew which rules you had to play to.
These common rules were so widely taken up by other teams that from 1863 onwards the Football Association adapted them for the national game. Twinned with the arrival of the trains, football was entering a new era.
Finally, teams could travel, play a game and get home, and indeed Oxford and Cambridge themselves could finally play varsity matches, travel on the day and then get back to the respective universities, probably with some supporters. And in the wider game of football, football really started to blossom as clubs could be formed, competitions could be organised and teams could travel some distance.
Just as the trains transformed horse racing in Newmarket, so they also revolutionised the beautiful game. Leagues grew because teams were able to get to fixtures anywhere in the country. So would it be fair to say that football was born on Parker's Piece?
I think it would. I think that those young men playing to different rules and being exasperated at not being able to play together, it made them write these new set of rules. They were adopted, and so one could say it was the birthplace of the modern game of football.
My next stop is Barrow-upon-Sword in rural Leicestershire. In Bradshaw's time, it was at the heart of an enthusiastic fox hunting territory. Bradshaw says we're in the finest fox hunting ground in England. That's because the good quality soil is good for the scent, and he says most of the land is laid to pasture rather than being ploughed. And this, he says, is where the famous corn hounds are kennelled. For this is the property of Sir R. Sutton, Baronet. This is Corndon Hall. Many people claim that modern fox hunting was born at Corn in the late 18th century, when faster hounds were bred here. In the 19th century, the hunt's popularity grew as the railways made it easier to travel to meets. Soon, railway companies were targeting the sporting fraternity with special services. The Corn ceased its pursuit of live foxes in 2005, but it's still an important local institution. Some of today's hounds are directly descended from the specimens used in Bradshaw's day. Hello, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Michael, very nice to see you.
Brad Thomas.
Hello, sir.
Great to see you. And this is the famous pack of corn hounds.
Indeed it is.
Beautiful creatures, beautiful. I'm joining huntsman Peter Collins and Rad Thomas, a lifelong member of the Corn Hunt, as they exercise the hounds. So here we are on a blazing summer's day, no hunting at this time of year. So what do the hounds do at this time of year?
Well, basically this time of year we're keeping them fit. As you can see, we've got this many hounds in the kennels all day. They've got to be exercised.
And how fit do these hounds have to get?
Well, by the time it comes to the season, these hounds could run anything up to 100 miles a day.
100 miles?
And they would probably hunt 2 days a week. So that would be pretty good training for a marathon runner, wouldn't it?
It would. My Bradshaw's guide says that this is the best hunting territory in England. In fact, he quotes a columnist in a sporting paper called Nimrod. And Nimrod apparently said, of all the hunts, this is the belle. Is that still the case?
I think so, and many others do as well. And it's a history really of the topography of the county, which meant that the sport was faster, a little more scary, and that attracted the interested people who were prepared to come and hunt. And of course, a lot of them came by train to enjoy that sport.
Tell me more about that. How did the railways affect hunting?
Before the railways, it really was you had to set your stall out and go for the whole season, because it took so long to get there and get all your equipment and your servants and your horses and everything else there. Now the railways have arrived, the easier routes up to Leicestershire from the swells of London, and so they could do it in a day.
How do they get their horses up here?
On specially built carriages, and their group which are equipped for the horses, and room for the grooms, and all the provender that went with it, not only to get them here, but also to get them back, of course.
The rapid expansion of the Corn boosted local businesses. hunting lodges and gentlemen's clubs sprang up to serve the influx of wealthy visitors. Even today, the hunt looms large in the local economy.
On an average day, there's 100 horses out. All those horses have got to be fed hay, hard feed, they've got to be shod. Everyone's got to buy their riding clothes. So all the local millers, all the people that produce the food, hay, straw. It's a very, very big thing, and if that was gone, it would make a big hole in the community.
Bradshaw's praise of the town's pleasing architecture is followed by a less obvious comment that I must pursue. Writing of Tunbridge Wells, Bradshaw says, "A new cricket ground has been made where many great matches are held." That was written in the 1860s, and I last followed cricket in the 1960s, but the ground to which Bradshaw refers is the higher ground. This is it. In the 19th century, cricket was central to the life of Tunbridge Wells. I'm meeting cricket historian Glenys Williams to find out why. Hello, Glenys.
Hello.
Good match so far?
Yep, looks good.
Tunbridge Wells is really a kind of centre for cricket, isn't it, historically speaking?
Very much so. Kent was the cradle of the game. It was in Kent and Hampshire, Sussex, where the game originated, we believe, way back in the 12th, 13th century. And because of all the willow being grown here, it was the perfect place for cricket bat making. And so certainly from the 17th, 18th century onwards, we see the growth of the game here. And also we get the development of the various cricket bat making firms and ball making firms in this area as well.
Cricket balls have been made locally since the 1760s. They were hand-stitched by workers at home. Then in the 1840s, Dukes opened a factory alongside the railway tracks. Trains began carrying cricket balls and bats to the rest of the country, and they also helped to transform the game.
The All England 11 that travelled in 1849 travelled by stagecoach. By 1852, they were using the rail network. And if you look at a map of the expansion of the rail network around England and Scotland, cricket follows those lines. The All England 11s were particularly popular in some of the industrial cities up north, Sheffield, Manchester. They played as far south as St Ives and they went as far north as Scotland.
So trains enable players to get to more distant places. Do the railways also popularise the sport?
Yes, they do. With the rise of the mass media in the 1840s to 1860s, newspapers are travelling on trains, match reports are being sent via the telegraph, which also goes via the rail network. And people sitting in their homes reading these newspapers were able to read about the exploits of players such as W.G. Grace. And so when they heard that he was coming to play, there was for the first time a sense of anticipation.
By the mid-1800s, tens of thousands of Victorians would travel across the country to watch a fixture. Cricket's increasing popularity with the masses would forever change the way it was played. You see, I think of cricket in its heyday as being a game for aristocrats and the gifted amateur.
What we see in the 1860s are two different games, if you like. You have the professionals who are earning their living by playing games around the country in front of big crowds, popularising the game. At the same time, you have the aristocracy who have almost withdrawn back to their own county estates. Once the game retreated, if you like, into the county scene, it was much more refined. And I think if you really wanted to get a feel of one of those matches from the 1860s, you'd really have to go to India today to see these massive grounds where people just crowd in and are also completely passionate about the game.
The tracks running up this stretch of coast offer wonderful views across the Firth of Clyde. In the 19th century, the new railway allowed wealthy Glaswegians to move out to this beautiful scenery, turning Prestwick into a haven for commuters.
This train is for Glasgow Central. The next stop is Prestwick International Airport.
is Prestwick town, which scarcely gets a mention in Bradshaw's because it was just a tiny village on the edge of Troon. But when the rail link arrived here, that was the moment when the middle classes from Glasgow could build their magnificent villas here to take advantage of the sea views and the vista over towards the Isle of Arran. And with the railway coming here in 1840, it was just 11 years later that they put in the golf course, and the best view of the golf course is from the station. When my guidebook was published, Prestwick was poised to become one of Scotland's most important golf courses. As Club Secretary Ian Bunch explains, what a fantastic golf course.
Welcome to Prestwick.
Where we're standing now, Prestwick, this is actually the home of open golf in Scotland, is that right?
The home of the first Open Championship was held here in 1860. Only 8 people took part in that Open. And it was Tom Morris, it was his concept with the Earl of Eglinton and J.O. Fairley, and they sent invitations out to the leading clubs for them to put forward players to play in this open event.
And I suppose then the railways did make it possible for it to become a big spectator event.
Oh yes, I mean the last Open that we held here was 1925, and there were something like 20,000 people came on the railway from Glasgow.
How fantastic. I mean, forgive me, it must have been quite difficult to control 20,000 people in this size of course.
That's why we no longer have the Open Championship, because the crowd control, there was none. Everybody was on the fairways in those days. They just followed the matches, and you have all these people bottlenecking. That was the last Open in 1925 that we actually had.
Golf originated in 15th century Scotland, but in the railway age it spread rapidly. By the 1900s, there were more than 1,300 courses in Britain. Have the railways played quite an important part in the history of golf?
Oh, very important. If you think of a links course, it's beside a railway station. It was more holidays, industrial evolution. People had more, the working week came down to 55 hours, so they had more time. And they were actually able to play golf.
Of course, in those days, you didn't have a car, you didn't have a boot to sling your golf clubs in, you wanted to take them on the train.
Absolutely. It was horse and cart or a train.
Railway companies offered cheap tickets and deals for golfers. And here, railway staff made special arrangements so players didn't miss their train.
In days gone by, the station master used to have a bell which he would ring, in the bar to advise that the train was going to arrive within 5 minutes. So we had a wonderful relationship with the railways in days gone by.
Just time to drink up and go.
Absolutely.
In Prestwick, the memory of the railway's heyday is cherished.
Oh, I've got a good story about railways and golf. Well, the lady's playing at Prestwick long ago in the 20s of steam trains, and the train came in to the station as she drove, and she sliced it over the wall out of bounds, hit the train, came back on the course, and as she walked up, the driver leaned out and said, that was lucky. Are you playing tomorrow? And she said, yes, I've got a tea time at 1 o'clock. He said, I'll try and be here.
Have the same luck twice.